In the meeting of the Township of Hamilton, Tuesday, February 18th, 2020. Can we stand for the flag salute, please? Charlie, want to lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the press of Atlantic City and the Atlantic County Record on January the 15th, 2020. Mr. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mr. Kurtz?
Here.
Mr. Patali?
Here.
Mayor Schenker?
Here. Excuse me. Can we get a moment of silence for private reflection? Thank you. We have a guest here and a presentation from Doug Abdil from Atlantic County Mosquito Control. You've been a very popular topic here in the past couple months, so we figured we'd come in here and you could talk about it. Not many people talk about mosquitoes in February, though, so you must be pretty dedicated.
Yes, yeah, it's pretty much a labor of love for myself and my employees. I guess I'll start out with just a background information about how mosquito control is done, and pretty much in the state and in Atlantic County. It's primarily surveillance driven, so we are spending a lot of our time from April, May is about when we start our surveillance efforts, and we go all the way through the end of October at this point with the way climate is definitely changing. We're seeing that with the activity in the mosquitoes that we're trying to control for everyone. We have 0.5 inspectors who go out and dip for larvae in standing water of various different locations and sources, everything from salt marshes to the I would say as small as a bottle cap or a Chick-fil-A sauce container in your backyard that might have happened to catch a little bit of rainwater. There's a mosquito that has pretty much evolved to live in any standing water that we have around. Not moving water, pretty much not lakes, but there's still plenty of habitat out there for them. So my guys are out there looking for those larvae, and we're trying to put down what we call larvicides, which are lower impact pesticides to try and keep the mosquito populations at a low enough level where they're not creating a nuisance for residents, and they're also not creating a public health hazard by being able to pick up the different parasites and bacteria and viruses that mosquitoes are known to transmit. So that's our primary control and surveillance activity with my inspectors. I have an ID specialist and a biologist whose main job is running light traps. We have 17 throughout the county. We have 2 here in Hamilton County, or Hamilton Township rather. We collect mosquitoes from those traps 3 times a week through the entire mosquito season from May through October. And that lets us have an idea of what is going on, how the mosquitoes are reacting to the weather conditions that we're seeing, and where the different types of standing water are. Once the summer heats up, usually starting in early June, we add vector surveillance to our program, where we're actually setting a couple different kinds of traps that collect mosquitoes and actually keep them alive. We run them 3 nights a week. We spread our efforts out across the county. We try to hit all the municipalities on a fairly regular basis. But we do have historical hotspots where we can focus our efforts, and we know that there might be trouble coming. Luckily, Hamilton Township really isn't one of those hot spots for the most part. But that vector surveillance where we're collecting those live mosquitoes, the guys bring them into our lab. They're frozen and then identified to species. And the mosquitoes that we know are potential vectors of West Nile, Eastern equine encephalitis, those health hazards, they are sent up to the state health lab and tested for those diseases. So we have, like I said, Eastern equine, West Nile, chikungunya, Zika, dengue, all those viruses and parasites we're surveilling for. Now, what got everybody's attention last year was the fact that we had Eastern equine encephalitis at a very high prevalence rate here in Atlantic County. And we had a horse that was tested positive, it was sick, and actually was put down here in the municipality. And we also had mosquito pools that tested positive for the virus as well, right here in Mays Landing over at Lenape Park. So seeing the elevated activity, we got multiple pools over multiple weeks. So we saw that the virus was developing in the mosquito population, and we were getting to the point where we were concerned that the virus was going to be able to be passed on to residents, and unfortunately a horse did catch it also. That got us going, and we reacted with an air spray that, as you gentlemen can see in the map, it actually, we had a positive human in outside of the municipality, but then we had two locations within Hamilton Township where we were responding to the horse and the mosquito positives. I know there's been some questions about how early in the process can you be notified. Unfortunately, I tried to do my best to get that notification out early. You can see in the New Jersey Administrative Code, the requirement is a minimum of 12 hours pre-spray when we're talking about an area-wide spray, whether it's ground spraying or aerial, anything over a 3-acre accumulation. So what we sprayed was well over that. We had to do our notifications. We are also required to notify beekeepers. They're required to get 24 hours notice so that they can muster either the manpower or their supplies to protect their hives and protect the livelihood that they gain from beekeeping, and also just the general good of bees for the environment. I don't differentiate between the municipalities and beekeepers and the general public. Everyone who I know who wants to be notified in the areas that we plan to apply pesticide to, I try to do that before the 24-hour mark. One thing that we have to think about when we're doing truck sprays, we can respond fairly quickly to what changes in weather, and it's my employees, my equipment, we're getting out there and we can react a little bit quicker. When we needed to do the aerial applications, like to the municipality here, because of just the lack of road coverage where we had the activity, we had to go with the aerial application. So with that situation, I'm working with the State Office of Mosquito Control Coordination through the state air spray program. So they have a contract with a local ag operator actually over in Downstown, and we have to work with their schedule. We're lucky they kind of drop pretty much everything for us because we work really well together. But dealing with their notification requirements for the DOT and FAA, as well as weather restraints. Visibility is a major issue with flight, and downtown seems to be one of the foggier areas in South Jersey. So we get bogged up with some of those restrictions, and also just making sure everything gets coordinated, because while we're flying, we also have ground crews doing surveillance. We actually cage mosquitoes to make sure that the material that we're applying is effective. So we have captive mosquitoes, they're exposed to the spray, and we monitor them for the time elapsed before they die, as well as collecting droplets to make sure that the material is coming down to where we need it to in the air column, right at our normal level, and also at the droplets are at the right size. So we're always monitoring that our applications are effective, and really putting out as little material as possible to get that control. At this point, I've hit all the details that I wanted to hit. What kind of questions do you have for me? Yes, sir.
Are you all open to input from the public on where they think mosquito problems are?
Yes, absolutely. I can actually give you my business cards. We have a QR code on the back where you can scan it with your phone, and it'll take you to a web app, and you can put in the location of a potential mosquito issue. My card also has our office phone number where anyone can call in and let us know they're having an issue. And we like to, I try to make sure that my chief inspector is out addressing those service requests within 24 to 48 hours. So we try and hop on that pretty quick.
You mentioned the light trap. Do you have any recommendations for the best kind of trap for mosquitoes?
It's hard to recommend one of the commercially available traps, because if you think about it, they're attracting mosquitoes. So the mosquito magnets, where they actually use propane and a catalyst to create CO2 and attract the mosquitoes, they work really well, but you want to have a large enough property where you can set that away from where you're going to be spending your time on your property, so that you're taking the mosquitoes away from you and not creating an issue. Those are probably the best ones for home use.
What kind of started this whole thing was last year when you sprayed Ariel. People were making phone calls, asking questions, a lot of them saying they didn't know anything about it. Come to find out, I mean, word was out, it just didn't seem to get out to everybody. So I think what we're going to do, we talked about putting it on Nextel next year or this year, whenever it comes up, and that was the biggest thing. And wanted you here and offered it out to the public to come out and listen and hear what you had to say about what this chemical is and why you do what you do. So thank you very much.
Yes, I'm more than happy to add anyone to our notification list if they're concerned about getting as early word as possible. I do maintain a list of private individuals who want that notification. Just have to call my office and I'll add them into the list. Our phone number is in the phone book or on the web, aclink.org, the county website. We're right there, often at the top of the page with interesting information. And we do everything that we possibly can. We do have our notification, our municipal notification packet actually went out a little bit early this year, so you guys should already have that in the office if anyone wants some of that extra information about the different pesticides that we do apply and how we do our surveillance in a little bit more detail. And if anybody wants more detail than what we have in our packet, we're in the office 7 to 3:30, 5 days a week.
Thank you.
Is there any app or anything where the residents can go in and get on that notification list
Not
without calling in?
They could probably figure out how to do that. There is a text box with the web app where they could just ask to be put onto that without actually calling us. I generally when I get one of those service requests through the app, it usually has some details that aren't there that I like to have. So I'll generally reach out and get a little bit more information. That way, when we're doing notifications, I have to have their address, a good phone number, or an email address to reach them. So.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate it.
All right, so we have another presentation tonight. Charlie, you want to? Actually, anybody can come down if they'd like. For those of you who don't know, Mike Jacobs, our administrator for the last, how many years? 7?
9.
9? Is retired. Tonight on the agenda is our duty to pick a new administrator, which is a difficult task. We got you this proclamation. It doesn't seem like it's even barely enough after having put up with me for 4 years. But nonetheless, you made it through. So we just want to say thank you. The township wants to say thank you. You've done a great job. You have always, kept the township first and done a good job, and kept all of us in line, which is a full-time job. Charlie, you want to read that?
Ironically, one of my first duties as a city township committee member was to hire me, and that was 9 years ago, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. So it's kind of fitting that I'm up here standing here doing this, and I should get a proclamation. I've only been with him 2 months. So, so the proclamation says, whereas Michael S. Jacobs was appointed to the position of Township Administrator at the Township of Hamilton on January 1st, 2011, and has honorably and faithfully served the township in the capacity since that date. And whereas all his successes, Michael Jacobs has decided to retire from his position as Township Administrator to enjoy a well-earned retirement that will be marked by more time spent with family and friends. Whereas we sadly accept his decision to retire, but extend to him our most heartfelt appreciation for a job very well done. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, on this day, February 18, 2020, recognize Michael S. Jacobs. In honor of his devotion to the residents of the Township of Hamilton, we take this opportunity to express our sincere and grateful appreciation for his service. He will be sorely missed. We hereby offer to Mike our congratulations on his upcoming retirement and our best wishes for him in his continued success, happiness, and good health in the years to come.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't used the word whereas that many times in my life.
Get used to it. We use it a lot around here. Let's see, addition, deletion, late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have one item 6B, change the wording in item 6B to read as follows. Resolution amending Resolution 290436, authorizing extension of bid 21502, Solid Waste Collection Services Contract to Waste Management of New Jersey, Incorporated. To add an additional extension period of 2 months, 3/1/20 to 4/30/20. Total cost of extension not to exceed $150,000. Total cost, both extensions not to exceed $300,000. I get a motion to add that to the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
I do have a question here it says here, amount not to exceed $1.
Yes, it's being changed.
Oh, okay.
That's what
That's what the change is about.
yeah, dollar wasn't enough.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Well, I hope it is.
no, it's,
Early public comment.
we didn't need any additional money.
Pardon me?
No, I was just saying, we didn't need any additional money. The first
Yeah.
300,000 covers the extra
Right.
months.
Anybody sign up for early public comment? It's your last meeting, Mike. Come on, get in the game. Thank you, Michael. We have nothing up for discussion, no public hearings. Introduction of ordinances. Public hearing will be held March 2nd, 2020. Ordinance 1918-2020, an ordinance authorizing the sale of Lot 22 in the Block 607 as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton, and granting the owner or owners such said real property contiguous to the same right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, and State of New Jersey.
I'll move item A, ordinance number 1918-2020.
I'll
I'll
second
second
it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. We'll have a public meeting on March 2nd. B, ordinance 1919-2020, an ordinance to vacate the following public street in the relinquish of the public rights therein, a portion of Phillips Avenue, and repealing all ordinance heretofore adopted, the provisions of which inconsistent herein.
I'll make a motion to move that ordinance.
A motion, do we
I'll
have a
second.
second? Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. C, ordinance 1920-2020, an ordinance repealing section 301-49 of the Code of Township of Hamilton. Mike, could you give us a little background, please?
Yes, my understanding is this came from a request from the prosecutor's office to do away with the ordinance for careless driving because there is a state statute for it that they should use instead of the
Okay.
ordinance.
Very good. We have a motion?
I'll make
Yeah,
that
move.
motion.
We have a
I'll
motion
second
and
it.
a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Number 6, awards, bids, contracts, and change orders. A, resolution authorizing the acceptance of proposal for field work, documentation, and other services for traffic issues on routes 40 and 50 West, mile marker 46.6, with Kevin Dixon of Dixon Associates in Engineering, cost not to exceed $1,700. Mike, would you give us a little background on this, please?
Yes, there's a situation that's been going on for quite a while at that intersection where the right-hand turn onto 40 conflicts with the left-hand turn from the opposite direction onto 40. You actually get a green light in both directions. And there used to be a yield sign, is my understanding, which is not there anymore. So the Department of Transportation, every time we ask them to look at something, because this isn't our road,
Exactly.
they say they want engineering basis for it. So that you have to spend a little money to get them to take an interest in it.
So
this
this
was,
1,700 is the little money?
yes, this is
There's going to
to,
be no more little money?
I don't know what they'll run into when they start studying it, but this is what Kevin's best estimate is.
Okay.
And what happens when we do this and tell them, yeah, you need to put a sign here? Are they going to listen to us?
That
course.
that I can't promise you.
Right.
So we might just be throwing money out the window.
It's a possibility.
How many, are there a lot of accidents there?
I defer to the chief on the accidents. I know that I almost got hit there.
Did you get hit?
As one person. I didn't get hit.
Not a problem.
But it was close.
Almost doesn't count, Mike.
Workplace caused an accident, so to speak to Mr. Jacobs' point, almost got in an accident.
All right.
It just surprises me that we have to spend money to have them put a yield sign back up that was there previously.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like, yes.
sure is. Unfortunately, it's the way we gotta do it, right? So I'll make that, resolution authorizing that.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Well, I'm in agreement with Mr. Patali. I mean, I don't want to see us have to spend the money, but I think that that intersection is going to see a lot more traffic when that bridge closes. And
Yeah.
we need to address it now before that happens, so.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's not our roads, but it is our intersection, more or less, so.
Well, one of the roads, that intersection is the county. Can we get the county to pay for it?
Sure, maybe we can split it with them. All right.
Send something to the
Any
county.
other questions? What's that?
I can send the request to the county
Okay.
administrator if you'd like.
We're never short of doing that.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead with this. So we have motion and second. Are there any other questions? Rita, can we get a roll call vote for this, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
No.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
B, resolution authorizing extension of bid 2015-02, solid waste collection services contract to Waste Management of New Jersey for the period of 2 months. I'm going to go to this one, 3/1/20, 4/30/20. Total cost of extension not to exceed $150,000. Total cost of both extensions not to exceed $300,000.
I guess the only question I have is, how did we get here yet again? When Carl and I were committeeman-elect, we sat in the audience and were a little shocked that we were extending this large contract. Members of the committee did it, but now here we are again, doing it yet again. And if the original was only $150,000, why did we do a not to exceed of $300,000? If the contract was only going to be $150,000.
I can answer that. The original was 300,000.
Right.
We don't need any additional money to extend it. That will cover the full extension. The agenda, if you saw, had $1 in it, which is because we don't need any additional money, but the attorney suggested the rewording of it.
I understand how it got put back on there and the reasoning that we're doing it differently now and changing the original resolution. But why did we authorize 300 the first time when we only really needed 150?
Oh, I don't have an answer for you.
Okay. But we're here now and we have to pick up trash, so.
Are we going to have a new contract by April 30th?
Should have. It's advertised. You
Are
have
we
to
out
advertise
to bid?
60 days. It's a longer than any other bid process. It's a special process for solid waste, but
Why didn't we start it in August?
that's a good question.
So are we currently advertised for it or no?
Yes, is Ingrid?
We are. So it's currently advertised, so.
When's the bid date?
Thank you.
Okay. Did we get a motion? I'm sorry.
You didn't get one yet, no.
Need a motion? A second?
I'll move the resolution.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. C, resolution to extend contract for Delta Dental Insurance administered by the Gallagher Benefit Services for the period of March 1st, 2020 to March 31st of 2020. Not to exceed $11,000.
I guess my question would be, why are we extending another contract?
I think Dottie handled this one.
Can she come up? Can you come up, please? We're not catching you on the recording. Thank you.
It's going to renew the beginning of April, and it took them time to get a quote to us. So we needed to renew during that period.
So the contract's not actually up until April?
No, it will, that's why it's extended.
When does the contract expire? March 1st?
Yeah.
So why, again, I guess the question is, why do we have to extend it? Why didn't we get the contract completed so that we don't have to extend it?
We're waiting for a quote from them.
Okay, it just seems to me that's something that we should have had prior to us. We shouldn't have to be extending contracts. That's
Right.
a concern. All right, thank you.
Is this contract up every year? Is this a one-year contract,
This is
two-year
2 years.
contract? Okay.
Has that actually been decided? I thought when I read some of the stuff, it said it could be a 1 or a 2 year.
Yes, it can be.
Thank you. What's your pleasure?
I'll move the resolution.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Are there any questions? With no questions, Rita, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes,
All yes and carried.
thank you. Number 7, consent agenda.
I'd ask that we remove E for further discussion.
Okay. So you want to do A, B, C, D, and F?
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion to do
I would
those.
request that 7C be removed for a separate roll call vote.
Okay. C?
7C, yes.
All right, so
Okay.
Charlie, would you redo your motion, please?
I'll move the consent agenda A and B, D, 1 through 4, and F.
Okay, thank you.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We will move to 7C, resolution approving 5-year billboard lease agreement with Cousin Mario's Pizza, authorizing mayor to sign same.
I'll defer to the,
Involves money. That was the rationale.
Yes, I'm with you. Okay.
I'll move it.
We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those, do you want to do a roll call on this one since it's money? Why don't we do a roll
Yes.
call? Rita, please.
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. 7E, resolution authorizing submission of grant application for $50,000 21st Century Program grant through New Jersey Economic Development Authority, NJEDA, and authorizing mayor to issue letter in support of same.
I wanted to see if we could just get a little more on this, since there is a match on it, a little more explanation for the public.
We need Hannah.
So this grant is going to basically provide funding for the township to undergo a redevelopment study on a specific properties that are underutilized or vacant, such as commercial or office buildings. For the purposes of this grant, I was hoping to focus on the racetrack and Hamilton Mall. I know for many years there's been numerous studies that my predecessor had done on the racetrack, but there's been very little done on the Hamilton Mall. So I met with Max Slusher from the Economic Alliance for the county, and he mentioned the match essentially could be used 20% in kind, meaning services, not necessarily financial. So they could just be, my time or times of our planning board professionals, because we already have that built into our budget. So it's not like the township has to put up money. We could, but it doesn't have to be all 20%. It could even be like split in half or less than that.
How about the time spent by our economic development attorney?
That it could also be used that way too. It just depends on how I want to split it, I think.
Covered, huh?
But I mean, I haven't discussed that one in particular, but I know
So when
from
you do
planning
this
board.
grant, you are doing it specifically for those areas, or
Yes.
can we use it wherever we want?
We could use it wherever that qualifies, but for my purposes, I chose
Okay.
those two places.
fine.
There could have been areas along Route 40 or 322, but I felt, and Max and I talked a lot about this, and we both agreed that the mall and the racetrack. I actually went through the mall last week and noticed the vacancies. It's almost about half on each floor of the stores, and even if it's not a greater percentage of the stores there, it's actually, if you think about it, the ones that are more vacant are these larger, units. So they're over 205,000 square feet apiece. So even if it's not a greater number, I feel like that's pretty substantial for the township to look at. So,
Okay.
any other questions?
Any other questions?
The fact that the mall did hire a new development firm, are they going to be included in this?
We don't have to necessarily involve the owner unless we just provide a recommendation. That's how I was explained. So I can just provide the facts and the report. Phil Sotoria had done a similar report where he basically just outlined what's existing at the racetrack, for example. So I could, basically do the same thing for the mall. But the moment I provide any kind of recommendations or, site, like possibilities or things that could happen there, concepts, then we'd have to involve the owner.
Okay.
I thought I read in here too that could it be used for promotion of different sites? I'm thinking specifically the industrial park.
I mean, I think the purpose of this would be a promotional aspect of showing, underutilized sites. So I don't see why the industrial park or, properties there couldn't be used too, but it has to just qualify within the application. So I'd have to look into it. But that's something we can consider.
So Charlie, this is a reoccurring grant. This grant comes
Right.
up every year. I don't remember did we do this last year?
It came out, I think, last year or the year before, and for some reason their restrictions were so, I guess, restrictive. So they were very limited. So I don't think a lot of folks even went for it. So according to Max,
Okay.
he said that now this year it's a lot lesser restrictions or easier for people.
Yeah, it's not like they're giving us $1 million.
Right, and
Right.
they just,
Right.
and according to him, it could be very limited in this area. So in other words, if Egg Harbor Township wanted it and we wanted it, if presumably one of us is gonna get it. It's not like, both of us can obtain the money, so.
All right,
Okay.
very good, thank you. Okay, so 7E, what's your pleasure?
The fact that we can use in-kind as our match, I think is a positive thing, because we are spending money on planning and we are spending money on redevelopment, so I'll move 7A.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second. Are there any other questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Number 8, personnel. Resolution to appoint township administrator at $130,000 annually effective to a date to be determined, contingent upon successful background check and employment physical. And our new, if this vote goes well, our new township administrator will be Mr. Arch Liston, who is sitting in the audience tonight. Committee?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
It's almost painless. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Just a comment. I mean, I think we're fortunate as a township. We had a lot of really good applicants.
We did.
It was a very time-consuming process for all of us, and Arch, you rose to the top, and that's saying something. So, congratulations, and look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd also like to comment at we started out, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to say right now, but Bob Sandman's not here, so I can say whatever I want. He's always where you're at, giving me the look like that. That's enough. 24 candidates we started with, 24. And I got to be honest with you, it wasn't just 24 people trying to get a job. It was 24 very qualified people. It was difficult each time we went to a lower number. And when we got to the final four, it was the most difficult at all. There was just so many people that, you know, even with the final four, any one of them could have done the job. And like Charlie said, Arch kind of rose above the rest. We expect big things, and we're looking forward to some good times in the head. We have a motion, a second yet?
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do a roll call, Rita, just for fun?
Yes. Mr. Kane?
Well, since it's just for fun, yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Of course.
All yes and carried.
Excellent. Okay. That was easy. Welcome, Arch. Okay. Number 9, approvals, minutes, February 3rd, 2020, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. B, minutes of February 4th, 2020, special executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions. Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
C, bills. Bill list total $1,952,811.21. That's
moved.
much better than last month, by the way. Thank you. Last month I almost had a heart attack right here where I sit.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions. Rita, can we once again do a roll call vote?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Number 10, we will move to reports. Mr. Administrator.
Yes,
For the final time.
Yes, and I would like to take this time to say thank you to the committee, to the employees, and to the residents of the township for the opportunity to serve you for 9 years. We've had our good times, we had difficult times in the beginning when the finances were tough, but we came through it and things have been pretty steady since, so. I just want to thank you and thank you for the proclamation, that means a lot to me.
Mike, I just got one question. Are you still going to call me?
Will you answer? That's it.
I didn't for the first year, you know that, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Mr. Solicitor, we
I
expect a long report.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Mr. Engineer,
Yeah, Mayor and Committee, I have 4 items I want to report on. The first is the Lake Lenape Dam. We've been trying to have meetings with the county for a while here, and about a week and a half ago, in speaking with the dam committee members, we thought it was a good idea if I write a letter to the county and indicate to the county the dates that we want to have the meeting through the end of the year. So I checked the availability of the conference room A, checked with the 3 dam committee members. So I put a letter out to John Peterson saying these are the dates we're available. Please get back to us on this. I spoke to John today, and something that occurred after I wrote the letter, the engineer Patrick Ennis with WSP gave his notice last Tuesday to the firm he works for. So the dam engineer is taking a public engineering position in the state of Pennsylvania where he lives. The engineers seem to be pretty competent. I think everybody at any of these meetings would agree that he knew what he was doing, and he was, anyway, it's a loss to us. So in speaking with John Peterson today, John has been in communication with one of the principals at WSP, and he informed me today that they are pretty certain they're going to secure an equivalent replacement dam engineer for the project. We can't live with anybody less than equal to Patrick Ennis. Also, along the lines of requesting a meeting, Bob Sandman wrote a letter, and I just received it late today. Bob has been in communication with the county. He's been in communication with Jerry Del Rosso, and Jerry and John Peterson appear to be on the same page. They are willing to meet with us. They want to have a meeting with us the very beginning of March, once replacement engineer is secured and they know who that engineer is. They said they will meet with us. You know, we didn't get a response to a meeting per month through the end of the year, but I think there's you know, we need to get to the first page, and that's to sit down with the county, and they finally now are agreeing to meeting with us. So I think we've made a little bit of progress there.
Do they anticipate that this replacing this engineer will extend this project out further?
I hope not. That's why, you know, we know the importance of having at least an equivalent. So we won't know, I think, until we get started in the process. The other part of this is what the WSP is waiting for. They're waiting for these elevations from the county surveyor. And I've been checking with the county surveyor directly. The county surveyor has begun his work. What he's doing is surveying the finished floor elevations of 24 houses downstream from the dam. They're about a week into that. In 2 weeks, they'll be complete with that data. Once they have that data, they give it back to WSP. That engineer, whoever it is, will be able to analyze that information and make a submission to DEP. And that's sort of the critical path. But I'll stay in close contact with the county. I know Carl's been in close contact with you know, we're trying. We're doing everything we can to get the county to come to the table. I've reminded them the township's paying 50%, and you know, I'll continue to push hard to get us in front of the county and get a meeting.
Okay.
The next item I wanted to speak about is the Cotton Mill Bridge. We had what I'll call a preliminary pre-construction meeting last Tuesday morning. The pre-construction meeting was with Pearson Construction, who's now under contract with the county to replace the Cotton Mill Bridge. The focus of this meeting was to see if, in fact, they could complete the in-water work on or before March 1st. I felt pretty good following that meeting, during that meeting, because Pearson Construction came prepared to that meeting. At that meeting, they requested, instead of putting 2 piles in the water, they want to put 4 piles in to shorten some of the span distances. You know, questions came up at that meeting, like, we'll look into it, and I said, well, we need to make a phone call now. We have like 11 days left. So things kind of moved ahead nicely. Pearson Construction, you know, the approach now, it's a contractor under contract that has built a lot of bridges, and now that they're sort of in the driver's seat right now, it seems to be progressing. Their interest is to move the project forward. This coming Thursday and Friday, they will be removing vegetation at the entrance areas on the side slopes where the utility bridge is going to be constructed. Come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're going to drive piles. They're giving themselves a couple days slack time in case there's any issues out there. So I'm feeling pretty confident. Wade Smith was at the meeting. We talked about traffic control. Wade's been communicating with the county also on the bridge, and they're talking about alternate lane for this period, towards the end of this week, the beginning of next week. And what will happen after they drive these piles? There's probably going to be about a 2 or 3 week period where you won't see any work done, and I think it's going to start up again the beginning of March. And the reason I say that is the county sent an email out late today. The true pre-construction meeting for the entire project, Cotton Mill Bridge project, is going to be March 3rd at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Mays Landing Library. And all the utility companies are invited. Our police department's invited. Brett and some of his staff is invited. So that's the meeting. That's when we really get into the details of the construction activity and schedules. And so I think you'll see some work out there at the end of this week, tree trimming. Next week, you'll see pile driving that's going to occur on the water side off of barges. We'll have a lane, lane closure So I think we'll just stay very close to this. I'm really relying on Wade to help me out. Wade's sent he's been corresponding with the county engineer, their traffic department, and I'll just continue to keep the committee apprised of what's going on at all phases.
Is there a time frame between when they drive the pile? You said they have a waiting period before they actually start transferring the utilities. Do we have a?
Here's what's going to happen. The county engineer in their bid package put the design of the utility bridge on the back of the contractor. So I asked them the question at the meeting. I said to Pearson Contracting, I said, who's going to design the utility? They did just a basic schematic. So Pearson Construction has an in-house licensed engineer that's going to work on the details of that utility bridge. That has to be approved by the county engineer. So they feel that that's probably a 3 or 4 week process to get that approved, get the materials in place. So Pearson, and it's good, I'm in contact with their superintendent, so I can go firsthand, get direct information, but there seems to be probably about a 3 week lag after they drive the piles until they actually start constructing that utility bridge.
Okay.
The next item I want to speak about is the 2020 road program. I had a meeting with John Kurtz and Carl Patali last week, and Brett Knoll and Sue Giberson. And what I did is that I brought a township map with us. I identified all the streets that have been reconstructed or drainage projects over the last 3 or 4 years. I came with a list of any roads that either Wade Smith has brought to my attention or Brett Knoll or any roads I've heard about that needed some work done. I brought a list. We looked at the list. We are going to schedule an on-site inspection, John and Carl and myself and Brett, for sometime early next week to physically look at these roads. We will look at the roads. I'll put an estimate to each of the roads. It's going to fall in timeline with the budget. Once we know how much money the township wants to spend on roads, we could do the final pick and choose, and I'd be happy to get started on designing roads and get the road project underway as early as we can this year.
Okay.
The last item I want to speak about is Charlie Kane brought up last committee meeting, what's the status of the Gaskell Park sign? That sign's been there for 7 years without landscaping. I spoke to Chris Carey, who's one of my partners, and he worked on a landscape plan for that sign 7 years ago. The landscaping never went in. Mike Jacobs helped me with there's an agreement between the township and the county, and the agreement stated that the county will supply landscape material and irrigation. I understand that the irrigation is in place. I found out just today that the county grows plants over at the Stell Manor Park. Eric Eusta is in charge of that. He's actually on the dam committee also for the county, so we're going to get to know him pretty well. He's going to supply a number of plants. Chris Carey talked to him today, so they're lining up the plants that are going to be planted on the sign and improve the appearance, the color. We'll get some perennials, some annuals, and Brett Knoll has volunteered to install those plants once we secure which ones we want. So as soon as the weather gets a little bit nicer, we're going to see some plantings done out there.
Great. Thank you for following up on that.
Sure. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for our engineer?
Oh, Mike, Steve, where are they going to stage the equipment for the dam project?
That's a good, I asked the question at that pre-construction meeting a week and a half ago, and at the time, they did not secure the parking lot from Cotton Mill Associates, but last Friday, they did. They thought his quote was a little excessive. They went back to him, and on Friday, I spoke to the superintendent with Pearson Construction, and he said, yes, they have secured an agreement for construction. So they have the use of that entire parking lot.
Good. Any other questions? With that, we'll move on to Township Committee. Carl?
A couple things. First off, I'd like to congratulate Larry Birch Jr. He became a lifetime member at Mays Landing Volunteer Fire Company. To become a lifetime member, you need to have 20 years of active service, and this is no easy task. In the 18 years that I was there, I got a total of 8 years of active service. So Larry did this while being a full-time employee of the New Jersey Forest Fire Service, a part-time employee for the Township 911 Center, and a part-time employee for his family business over at Purchase Communications, all the while being a great father and husband. So I'd like to say congratulations to Larry. Job well done. And this township should be very proud of people like that, because without him, there'd be a lot of things not getting done. Back on Friday, the 7th of February, I volunteered at Fresh Start Church for the Night to Shine. Night to Shine is put together by the Tim Tebow Foundation. Basically a prom for special needs, ages 14 and over. While I was there, I was happy to see our very own Detective Sergeant Chris Gehring. He was there volunteering his time to provide security. And both of us, along with everybody there, gave love and encouragement to everybody, to all the special guests. It was an amazing night. I think that kind of floats around to different locations. If it shows up and you have the time, I suggest it was pretty cool. It actually made my very dark heart grow a little bit lighter shade of gray. So, and talking about the whole hiring process, I was very pleased. This committee up here worked very, very well together. I didn't know what to expect being new up here. A lot of hours were put in, a lot of time, and we worked together very, very well. And I'm very pleased with the outcome. And it just made me feel really, really good to see how well we work together. So thank you guys, and welcome, Arch. Looking forward to working with you. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. John?
Yeah, first I'd like to congratulate Arch, and Arch, same sentiment. I'm looking forward to working with you. I also want to say thank you to Mike Jacobs for all your work, and also, as you know, it's our budget time. Mike worked really closely with the mayor and myself on the budget committee to prepare the necessary information so we could move the budget forward. We're doing really well on a timeline on that. And we had a meeting tonight. It's looking really well. And we're looking forward to our new administrator coming in. And it looks like we might just have to do a PowerPoint presentation to put it out with some last minute maybe adjustments. But thanks again, Mike, for all the work that you did getting us together and getting that done. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, John. Charlie?
Just a couple things. Mary, you received a letter from City of Summers Point,
Yes.
Basically from Mayor Jack Glasser thanking the Lauderdale Fire Department and Mays Landing Fire Department in assisting with that large fire they had out there in Summers Point. And he goes on to congratulate thank and congratulate Hamilton Township for their assistant and other departments' assistants that kept that fire from being a lot worse and spreading to the entire complex. And he signs his letter by saying, "I'm very thankful for the efforts of the Hamilton Township Fire Department. Please extend my very best to them and thank them from a grateful City of Summers Point." So it just goes to show, I mean, we have some really great first responders, and it's nice to see that they recognize it, and I know we all do. Mike, I want to congratulate you on your retirement. If I had an envious bone in my body, I'd probably be envious, but congratulations. It was nice working with you for quite a few years in the beginning. It's nice working with you again, and I wish you all the best. And as we said earlier, it was a really time-consuming, difficult process to narrow the candidates down. But Arch, congratulations. Looking forward to hitting the ground running with you and seeing great things in 2020 here. So welcome aboard. I just want to congratulate and thank the Industrial Commission for making a move and changing realtors in the industrial park. For those that don't know it, George Fye from Glen Cove is now the realtor for the industrial park, and I think that with his knowledge of the town and what Hamilton Township is all about, hopefully he's already done some really great things, innovative things. He's went out to the community and asked the community what their input is and what they think, and hopefully with him being selected and taking charge for promoting that industrial park, maybe we'll see some movement in there. So I want to thank the Industrial Commission for making that decision and appointing him as the realtor. The last thing I want to follow up on is there was a township resident that had made a note, and as Steve had said earlier, that point is finally going to be beautified the way it was supposed to be when it was originally designed. But there was a township resident that made a complaint about a tree on that house that's right at the point across from the sign. Do we know if that was ever addressed?
I believe the answer is yes. I'll have to get you a report on it because I think they did, and I think they went to court and didn't show up.
Really?
To court, but let me get you a report on it.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Charlie. Rodney?
Yes, thank you. I too would like to congratulate Mike and thank him for the fine job that he's done. I've always found him very good to work with and very responsive, and he knew his business. I appreciated working with him and wish you the best of luck. I attended a VFW meeting recently, and we had a Veterans Administration, a couple of Veterans Administration representatives there. They gave a very fine presentation. I think maybe if there's any interest in the township, the Veterans Advisory Board could have such a presentation also. Well, the services that the VA offers are huge. Many people don't know about them, and it was very informative. I also attended a Green Team meeting recently, and I was really impressed on the participation of the Green Team members and the new people that are coming on board. They have a lot of projects going. Probably the biggest one coming up soon. I'm thinking, what is that? April 25th? Yes, the Green Day, where there'll be, that's done in conjunction with the school, with Oakrest. There'll be paper shredding and the opportunity to turn in electronics. And there will be some demonstrations and participation by the school. So the Green Team is doing very well, and I would encourage other people to look into it. As a matter of fact, it's getting big enough now that it might be a possibility of requesting an additional member for the team. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Rodney. Listen, it's going to sound like I'm repeating what everybody said, but Mike, it's been great. I still got a good week left to torture you, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Arch, welcome aboard. Looking forward to your ideas and how you think the township should go. I also want to thank Mike for, he did a great job with the budget. We had our third meeting, as John had stated. It's coming around real nice. I look at it as a culmination of over the past few years of being able to put ourselves in a position we are today, even though we had our issue with the mall a couple years ago, and things weren't so good. And now we are going to present a budget in the next month or so that I think most everybody's going to be very happy with. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm proud to be part of it. Tonight, or the other day, I got a letter from a good friend of mine, Jack Glasser, who's the mayor of Summers Point, and I've known Jack for a lot of years, and it's a proud moment when you get a letter from another mayor from another town who said the kind words that Charlie had said earlier about your fire department, and we know that. And I'm going to call him tomorrow and tell him, yeah, I know. We have great fire departments, and we are very proud of them and all that they do, and they are, Chief Tilley was here a little while ago. I probably knew we were going to talk about this, so he ran away. But we're very proud of them. They do a great job. They take their jobs very seriously, and we couldn't ask for more. The other thing I'm going to piggyback on is the industrial park. A lot of years we had the same real estate agent. We got a new agent in there. I don't know if it's going to change anything. I can only hope that it will. But one thing I can tell you is that I was on Facebook, which I don't spend a whole lot of time on Facebook, and there's an ad on Facebook. And if you tap on that ad about our industrial park, it takes you right to Messenger and it asked me, Art, how can we help you? And I thought that was very, this is the type of innovation that's out there these days. It's the kind of stuff, tech stuff that, right away, it's if you got a question, we got an answer for you. So anything I can do to support this effort, and anybody on the Township Committee, we're going to do it. And we want to see that industrial park. And maybe next year that grant can go towards the industrial park to try and help move that along. We still own 300 acres out there, which is, it'd be much better if it was developed, but it is what it is. That's all I have to report. I want to open it up to the public for public comment. Jim?
I have a question for you, Charlie, and you too, Rod. I would like to see the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee changed to a board.
You did mention that last meeting,
Yes.
and I did agree to look into that for you, Jim, so I'll make sure that happens.
Okay.
Okay.
In 4-year terms instead of 1 year.
Why 4-year?
Because that's what it is with all boards. And 2 years for alternates.
Okay. I promise you I will.
I'm an alternate on the HPC.
Okay.
And you, Rodney, oversee that too, don't you?
I'm sorry?
You and Rodney oversee that too, huh? The HPC?
Yes.
As well as the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee? Yeah, I would like to see that changed to a board.
The senior citizens?
Yeah.
Yes. I made a note,
4-year
Jim.
terms?
Yep.
Because applying every year is actually a joke,
Well, I can appreciate what you're saying. I mean, people are busy, and they may not get their application in, and I could see a couple-year term, so we'll look at that. All right?
Okay. And Mike, good luck in your retirement.
Thank you.
I retired myself 14 years ago.
Okay.
And Aaron, good luck with your career.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Carolyn Downs Holton from Chancellor Park Community.
Mm-hmm.
And I was here, I guess, in front of this community about a little more than a year ago about the water problems in Chancellor Park. And I'm, again, Mayor and Mr. Philbone, thank you so much for the work that you did with Atlantic City Electric. That seems to have resolved the issue somewhat on the 32nd Avenue side of the development and the specific basins that were involved over there. We have a water committee, kind of officially unofficial. We're bumping up against another problem now, and I think it's one that's been ongoing in this area in Hamilton Township for a while, and that is the homeowners associations are responsible for the basins. And to try to get the homeowners association to look at the basins and try to do something about them is difficult, to say the least. We did have, after you gentlemen were kind enough to put some pressure on Atlantic City Electric, that seemed to work and the flooding hasn't occurred, and that dried out the one basin. However, it wasn't just that one thing. Several of those basins don't function as they should. They do not empty within 72 hours. Now, last year, the response that we've been getting from the homeowners association is that, well, there was a high water table, and the basins are functioning as they were designed, and they don't want to do anything about it. There is mention in your township meetings going back to 2010, and I don't know if you or the Mr. Kane that is mentioned here, that they were saying that there was a lot of discussion behind the scenes about the drainage issues in Hamilton Township with the basins and the different developments not being taken care of appropriately. There's a lot of rules and regulations, but I don't believe anybody follows them. So I guess I'm coming to you because I don't know what to do next. And I know you were approached in the past about this, because in minutes from the township meeting in August of 2014, there is a Mr. John Newsom, and that is one of my members on the water committee, that was her husband, that said that there were, the basin hadn't been emptying appropriately. By that I mean in 72 hours, since 2009. And the homeowners association kept coming back and saying, everything is fine, everything is fine. And I don't know if there are any other avenues that you can work or proceed, or that we should go in. It's a little difficult.
Steve, can you comment on this?
I can. When you came to the committee a year ago, the mayor and I did, the mayor set up the meeting.
Spectacular.
Because I saw it with my own eyes. When Atlantic Electric was not maintaining their basin, you're downstream from them, you were getting their water. And we walked, and you showed me. And
yes.
Atlantic Electric's been doing really well, but we have to continue to talk to them, because when their basin it's shallow, and it's so critical. If there's any vegetation that grows between that one connector pipe that takes the water to the back, it'll stop working. So we keep an eye on that. I drive that road a lot. If I notice something, I call, and so we think we have that sort of under control, but it's a long-term maintenance. The fact that your Chancellor's Place, they're privately owned, they're owned by your association.
Right.
There's an obligation that the association has to maintain those basins. The difficulty with your basins are you have two basins that are really a difficult challenge, because they're built, in my opinion, at the water table, or maybe even slightly below. So when we have periods of a lot of rain, the water table comes up, and it can't take that additional rainfall. And you had 30 houses that had water in their basement, or some. It was ridiculous.
We just finally got a report back from a new engineer in January that basically identifies a couple of issues, but also states that the basins are functioning as they were designed, which is my favorite saying of all time. When you ask somebody what's wrong, they look at you and say, well, it was functioning as it was designed. So was the Corvair. So to try to get people to do something when they can turn around and say, well, what is it? I don't know what we can do. And homeowners association, and I don't think it's just us, because I know they have it's been mentioned multiple times in the past about the drainage issues in Hamilton Township. And it's not going to be a problem again, probably until we get a lot of rain. Right now it's dry, and there are things that are supposed to be done on a yearly basis, and I don't think there's being done, but there's no remedy for that. Do you know what I mean? If you have a homeowners association that isn't meeting its fiduciary obligation, that's okay, but they're also not meeting the township requirements. And I don't know if there's an avenue to pursue that.
Steve, is that a township requirement, or is that a state requirement?
It falls back on the association to maintain it. And I just, every year during the month of March, the township, Mary Lizitsky sends a letter out to I think there's 60 privately owned basins in the township, and in that letter, it cites the DEP requirements where we need a report from a licensed engineer. And you've been doing, you've done that.
I know that.
I don't,
And
you
what
might
if
not
the
know
en-
this, last Friday, Matt Doran, the engineer that your association hired, called me, and he gave me, he had a suggestion, and he said, could I make a change to the one basin and put an outflow pipe there, and if it's a certain size? I says, Matt, administratively, I will be happy to look at that if it could solve Chancellor's Place Basin. So in other words, I think what the solution is like a partnership between the township and Chancellor's Place to come up with a solution. And I'll meet anytime, and I think you have a good engineer there, and I think he's on to something there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
But we've been trying to get the homeowners associations to meet with us and them to look at that, and we're getting just a lot of resistance.
So that sounds internal, though, to me.
It is.
Okay.
It is. But I don't know if I don't know if any other homeowners associations have that issue. Because I understand if there's a problem and you give people the alternative of, well, there's nothing bad happening right now, but we know there are issues with those basins, but it's going to cost something to fix them. And they never have done it.
I think the solution here is allow me to work with your engineer.
Okay.
And I'll, I understand how expensive things are, because I know you had recommendations from another engineer. All this remediation work to be done in the basin would not have solved the problem.
Right, and we had Rutgers come down.
Right.
And actually, look and say, no, that's not going to work. We're willing to do the work, and some of it is not major. Some of it might be green remediation, the appropriate plants. Yeah. But if you have a basin that doesn't empty within 72 hours, I don't want it to get to that point again. And the fact that he was here talking about standing water in New Jersey, it's an issue. It's not a problem right now, but I don't want to wait until it is. Right. And we can work on those basins, we can.
I'm happy at any point to get involved.
Do that? Okay.
I live around the corner. I'm happy to come out there. You have my number. I would love to solve your problem.
All right, thanks. And thanks again for everything you've done so far.
You're welcome. When you mentioned the word Corvair, the first thing I thought was unsafe at any speed. But, we did undertake as a township years ago, when former mayor and committeeman Roger Silver was up here, we did undertake going and fixing and rectifying all the problems in the basins, various basins, and we got a lot of the commercial establishments to cooperate with us. We fixed a lot, over the years, fixed a lot of those problems. But each HOA, when they come before the planning board, is going to be held to a standard to have to do. Now, I did hear your comments. You said in this case you don't feel that the remediation probably would have helped. But, I mean, if we're sending out the letter, shouldn't there be an avenue where we're being ensured that they're doing that? Because, as she's stating, I mean, we can't wait for people's homes to flood. We had issues years ago, as you remember, over in Hamilton Walk and other areas of the town. So, I mean, I think that's an enforcement issue. I think that
the DEP, the township, I assisted last year that you have a license with the DEP. You received a certification for stormwater, the township-wide, and I have a certification for an MS4 license for that. The DEP's instructions to me, because I go to seminars every year to get recertified, and all the engineers at these seminars say, how do we make these private homeowner basins, hold to the standards? And what they're telling us are, get on the program, get the letters out, get into the regular routine. We're going to work on, regulations to try to put a little more teeth into them. As of right now, we're following the requirements of your license, my license, and we're getting the letters out. We're getting into the routine, telling them, and that Chancellor's Place does fill out the proper engineer's certification report. They've been doing that. We'll just stay on top of it. I know it started 10 years ago. Stormwater basins are important. I'll just continue to work with Chancellor's Place.
When we noticed a loophole with certain developments where they would put the basin on a separate lot.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, what they would do over the years is they wouldn't pay the taxes on it, the lot would get foreclosed on, and then guess whose problem it became? And I know we worked on it with Mr. Sandman, who wrote new language and changed that and closed that loophole. Does that have any teeth in it for us to require the remediation, or?
As of right now, no. We have an, we're meeting our obligation of sending letters out on time and receiving and reviewing a report. There's nothing more than that, but teeth are coming is what the DEP is telling me.
Okay.
Excuse me. Are you the Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Okay, in 2010?
Yes.
There is, like when a basin doesn't drain in 72 hours, you're supposed to report it. And if the basin doesn't drain, there is no, you can't like say an excuse and say there was a really heavy rainfall or there was an elevated waterfall.
Right.
You have to find out what the problem was and you have to fix it. And what I'm saying is that when I entered this, that had been happening repeatedly. Nobody fixed it. The only thing, this was discussed way back in 2010 and again in 2014, is a site violation. That was the only thing that the Township Committee could do to try to encourage the homeowners association to take care of it. But if the feeling that I'm getting is if they choose to ignore it, they can. And I just don't want it to get to the point where we have that kind of an issue. There is a problem identified with at least two. There might be two more. I haven't heard about that yet, but we know Basin 7, the outflow, it's supposed to drain uphill. In this hemisphere, that's not going to happen. And Basin number 7, she mentioned Deborah Wall is the engineer. She mentioned a phenomena that occurs in when the water table is high and there's a lot of water coming into the basin, which may have happened with what was coming across the street. She calls it mounding, soil mounding. Now, I can't find where a mounding calculation was necessarily done or whether it was required before the year 2000. So if these basins were put in designed before 2000, 2001, those calculations probably were not done. That's number one. And number two, they specifically they'll push water into they'll push it sideways from the basin, and that will affect homes in the area. And the homeowners association just doesn't want to hear any of this. So, I mean, we're going to keep working. But I just wanted to know if there was any way to put any teeth in the requirement. Because Jersey has best management practices, and there's a ton of them. And I think according to Rutgers, there's less than a 42% compliance rate.
Yep.
So you're kind of like stuck.
Yeah. Anything prior to 2003 didn't have the mounding calculations, doesn't have the best management practices. There's some design flaws on your Chancellor's Place, and you're suffering that right now.
And they're functioning as they were designed.
Yeah. Oh, and just so you know, yeah, that's a bad engineering term. They use it. We all use it. It's bad. Any new, just so you know, any new projects that get built, there's bonds. There's a strict compliance. We don't release a bond until a basin is functioning as with the 72 hours.
I trust you folks to do that, but I
Yeah,
don't think it happened
it's
before. No, and I really appreciate your interest, and that's why I'm coming here, because I just want you to know that this is going on, and we're trying, but it's tough.
So you mentioned that if it doesn't drain in 72 hours, you're supposed to report it.
Yes.
Who do you report it to?
I think you're supposed to report it to the homeowners association, and they call the township engineer. Is that how it works?
Well,
it's a
That's an
homeowner's.
interesting- I didn't think of that.
I don't think
Who are they-
that's-
who are we?
Their engineer.
it's
DEP?
Probably DEP.
yeah. That's a good question.
All right, I'll find out.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to look into it too.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Motion and second to close public portion. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. We will now adjourn to executive session, collective bargaining and negotiations with the PBA lieutenants and rank and file. Rita?
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that this meeting be adjourned to an executive session to discuss the following matters, which are exempt from public discussion pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law. Collective bargaining negotiations with PBA lieutenants and rank and file, collective bargaining. Be it further resolved that the governing body may reconvene in public session and confirm the results of the executive session if there is a majority consensus for action to be taken on the matter. Tonight, be it further resolved that the results of said executive session shall be made known. Whatever.
Yeah.
Motion
All right.
and a second.
Any motion?
So,
Adjourn.
Move to
Executive
adjourn.
session.
second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. The record. So Rita, could you read the resolution?
Yes. Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that the collective bargaining agreement between the Township of Hamilton and the New Jersey State Policemen's Benevolent Association, mainly in Local Number 77 Lieutenant Unit, dated January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2022, is hereby ratified, and that the mayor is authorized to execute same on behalf of the township.
You heard the resolution? What's your pleasure?
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second it.
You have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions. Do we need a roll call for this? You want to do a roll call just for?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Rita?
Mr.
Roll call,
Kane?
please.
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. A motion and adjournment is in order.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you.